From this moment on, we're on. This is the YouTube channel Stoking Up. I am Scott Stimson with International Computer Solutions, back in San Carlos, but at the Nerd Cave. And this is the San Carlos Computer Club. They've joined us this morning for this virtual meeting. We're just discussing whether we're going to go back to in-person meetings. And I'm in no hurry. It's been too hot for me to want to leave, and I've been too busy, just like TJ was just telling us. I do not feel like it's a real commitment. So if there isn't, I don't know, I need to set a number. What's the number of people that need to be in San Carlos for us to start doing an in-person meeting? I'd say, hey, two. I got to set up all my computers. I was thinking 4, and me. So it'd be 5 in total. But I do think Jim's here. He's probably interested. And I think Ray's here. She's probably interested. So I guess I'm assuming TJ's interested. So so that would, I'm looking for one more, I think. Hello, Chester. We're just getting going. Welcome to the San Carlos Computer Club meeting.
Good morning.
Since you've jumped on, Sid's jumped on, I'm going to drop this link in our chat one more time. Just in case you don't have the document in front of you. We're not married to the document. The document's more of a kind of a direction. It's absolutely, there's nothing reverent about it. But I do like to have something in case I can't come up with anything to talk about and nobody wants to talk.
Could I say it maybe is a concept of a document?
It's a concept of a document. It's a concept of a structured agenda that will not be followed in the true tradition of the San Carlos Computer Club. So I will start as I've started in the past. I am much more interested in any of the things that you guys have going on. What do you got? What do you know? What do you want to share? Is there anything out there that's pertinent, that's breaking right now that maybe we can help? Is there any questions we can answer? Any news you'd like to share? Any comments or opinions you'd like to spout out right now? Hey, TJ, have you had a chance to look at my digital Bill of Rights? We've been talking about it through the last part of the summer, and you'll find a link to it in the document. I'm going to just start providing a link to it at the top of each one of these documents so newcomers can take a look. It's open for comments. I'm pleased that I took a meeting with one of the local reps there in Alaska, and he's supposed to be trying to push it forward as a bill. He's getting it rewritten in legalese. I actually haven't heard anything from him since then. So maybe it's bullshit. We'll find out.
And this is a what?
This has been the concept that I've preached for a long time. The idea that we need a digital Bill of Rights, or a Bill of Digital Rights, a foundation, some founding principles on protections for our digital persona at the individual level. And so this is a collection of things I think would make all our legislation rules better if we were to have to respect this list of rights that we invoke into our digital persona. We naturally inherit because of our community, because of what we believe these rights to be for our digital personas. So I've made up a list. They've ended up being 10, but I'm interested in anything new or anything that'll break them. When I look at this document, my thought is that, oh, that's cute. I didn't know Google was doing that now. My thought is that you take some situation that you're not pleased with, something like the way AI is being brought in, or cryptocurrency, or just the tracking, the advertisements. You take your complaint and you look down this list and see how that has violated your digital rights. And then you have a grievance because they've done it in a way that goes against the Digital Bill of Rights. And the idea is to have this foundation, these fundamental principles that we can push forward to our representatives, to our business leaders. This is where we stand. This is the way we want our community to work.
Okay.
So I'm happy to talk about that at any time, but this is a platform that I'm trying to get behind right now.
Okay.
And as it says in our agenda, I am back in San Carlos. So if you want to get into an in-person meeting, please get a hold of me. Let me know. And if we don't have any topics right off the bat, then I thought this one was kind of funny. We've joked that AI can burn through these CAPTCHAs, and now it's been proven. CAPTCHA, they are 100% success rate. So your next browser plugin might just be an AI that's solving captions, so you don't have to bother with it, because they've proven that AI is much more effective at identifying these pictures than real humans are. Pretty soon they're going to know you're a human because you're making mistakes.
Okay.
Have you... Now, this isn't all CAPTCHAs. This is the reCAPTCHA V2, which you have seen a lot of. This has like been a gold standard for years. And it's completely compromised by AI now. So you can imagine that anybody that's breaking into thousands of accounts has got an AI that's beating CAPTCHAs on the site. They used to, depending on the value, they would just outsource it. Like Mechanical Turks, they would send solving CAPTCHAs to actual humans. But now they can just send it to AI. And what was interesting is I caught a discussion last week where the AI in particular, not the one in this article, but this AI in particular in question was not solving CAPTCHAs, but was signing up Mechanical Turks to do it for them. So the AI model didn't have the insight to recognize whatever the CAPTCHA was, but was outsourced with the resources, outfitted with the resources to go and sign up human labor to solve CAPTCHAs for it, and then spit that back to the person asking for them. So that opens up a whole new level of Skynet kind of stuff going on here.
Capitalism.
Yeah, through an AI lens. I don't know what the AI gets out of it. I do think I do like the idea that maybe Copilot is paying those workers instead of me. I mean, if that's what AI turns into, Microsoft has a flat rate you pay monthly.
Okay, but Scott, stop. You're paying. See, that's like the argument with corporate taxes. We have to have corporations pay their fair share. Corporations don't pay taxes. The consumer pays the taxes. They just pass it along. So when you say that you're hoping that Copilot pays for it, you, the consumer, in using Microsoft
if you follow
products,
it through,
are going to
what we're
pay
talking
for
about
it.
is, and I was just making a joke about the idea that Copilot would be hiring its own labor.
Sure.
But that's what Apple, what Microsoft, what Google are all hoping is that there is a flat monthly fee you pay for services. And so what form those take is completely arbitrary. It's up in the air right now. All this AI stuff is just garbage anyway. I mean, none of it's accurate enough that you should be paying money for it to begin with. But then when they do finally have something in that product that makes sense to you, they're not going to charge you per query. They're going to give you a monthly flat fee for it. And apparently they're going to turn on a nuclear reactor to power it. Did you guys catch that? That's not even in my lineup. But Microsoft has a proposal to turn 3 Mile Island back on to pay for the electricity for AI.
Well, that's just not for Microsoft. It's they've shut down a number of coal plants and realized, hey, with all the new computing that's going on, we're low on power.
Well, yeah, just because the amount of electricity that's needed for AI. From what I understand, what they would do is they would maintain an electric company and then sell that back into the grid. Something with credits. I don't know. It's all shuffling. It's all shuffling.
Hey, moving a little bit off to the left or to the right, but kind of in the same. Obviously, VPNs are critical for folks here in San Carlos. Scott, have you run across Tailscale?
I'm sorry, say again?
Have you come across Tailscale?
Hail scale. I've never heard of that.
Okay. Tailscale is it's an app, but it allows you to control your own VPN.
Is it tail like
T-A, like the tiger's tail.
Okay, that's okay. Tail scale and okay. And what do you mean you get to control your own VPN?
In other words, your VPN is sitting on your own computer back in the U.S.
So you would have to you would control your endpoints. That's what you're saying?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Then if I'm controlling my endpoints, why am I buying a service from these people?
It's free.
Well, okay, then a better question. If I'm controlling my endpoints, why would I flow my authentication through a third party?
It's an app that allows you to control your endpoints.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's what it's doing. It's just making it easy.
Exactly.
Yeah. But there's probably, I mean, when you hand off anything, I mean, you know, security and convenience are the balance levers you're always working with. And you have to give up some security for that kind of convenience. I mean, if you quite literally are controlling both your endpoints, then a third party is only necessary to add convenience at the expense of security.
So I just figured I would mention it to you, give you something extra to explore.
Yeah. I'm looking at it right now.
But obviously, to be successful, here in San Carlos, you're going to need a computer that's always on back in the States.
Well, it depends on what you're doing. It depends on what you're using a VPN for. Like, you wouldn't do this if you're looking to just get your TV working. That's a lot of headache just to watch, you know, the football game in Mexico.
There's a lot of folks that will do a lot of tough stuff just to save a few pennies here in San Carlos, isn't there?
Well, yeah, I don't know if it's saving pennies, because I've watched people spend a lot of money just to do what they want to do in San Carlos.
What I'm saying is that a VPN, you're looking at 100 to 120 a year, and there are people that will, do backflips to save $120 a year.
Well, I mean, I hear you, but at the same time, it has to fit in correctly, right? Like, you have to have those costs sorted out on both ends, and sometimes it becomes cost prohibitive. Like, if you don't maintain a residence somewhere out in the United States, if you're not paying electric bills and internet bills on that side of things,
Correct.
then yeah, those considerations. Who'd we lose? Oh, we must have lost Sid. He's out in his truck on cell service. Well, it's interesting. I'll take a look at it. I'm going to put tailscale.com in our document here, just so we can come back to it. What do I got going on here? That's weird. Awesome. Sid's back.
There he is.
All right. I didn't get all the way through the world's first indoor vertical farm. I'm just impressed with it. They're saying 4 million pounds of berries a year. I think that vertical farms really do have a place in our future. I look at vertical farms as being kind of the way you would think of like a power plant for food. I think that if they're designed and engineered correctly, they could last for 100 years with very low maintenance, producing a standard quantity of food year round. We just shoot out food.
How do they get the sun to it?
I think it's all artificial.
Artificial sun?
Yeah. It says here with temperatures light, humidity controlled across 12 growing rooms, pollinating plants. Yeah, there's nothing about it that makes me think that it's anything but artificial light.
Artificial light's not free.
No, but real light is. Maybe they are combining it with a solar system. You would hope that the idea of a vertical farm would take the same kind of energy that goes into traditional farming and amplify the output using engineering. That would be the hope. I don't know why you would do this if you couldn't amplify the output through engineering.
Well, one of the big advantages of the vertical farms is the ability to recycle all the water used.
Yeah, I bet that's plays a big part in also just land mass. Right here it's talking about needing a fraction of the land for traditional. In this case it's strawberries they're talking about. So there's land to be saved and used for other things. There's water to be recycled. This is a little bit, I mean, we're talking about berries here, so you're probably, vertical farming probably makes sense for very specific kinds of crops right now, but not so much crops in general.
I'm a little skeptic on the economics.
Says this farm uses 97% less land and up to 90% less water than conventional farming. Eradicates the use of pesticides and controls environment and short supply chain. Will also lower pathogenic risk to crops. I imagine what that's trying to tell us is when you have this in your local area, they don't have to go thousands of miles to get to you. So there's less opportunity for corruption through the supply chain. Also lowering the need for more carbon emissions as we know them for all that shipping. I've always thought that vertical farms would play an important role in elevating a society because you could put farms and desalinization, farms of this style and desalinizations close to the sea, to make it possible to provide food, just a basic food staple and water to a community. And if you were to do that, you would just be you'd be making an investment in your local community to elevate that low end, so everybody's doing a little better. Hi, Paul. Welcome. I see you're muted, but does that mean that you can talk if you turn it off? Or if you unmute? No, you're still having problems with the mute or with the microphone. Well, we were just talking about vertical farms. It's one of the articles that I brought to the table today. And they're claiming to be able to make a ridiculous 4 million pounds of strawberries a year in this first indoor vertical farm.
Good.
If you were to do this, like say with something that could be a staple, like heads of lettuce or tomatoes or something like that, you would have a base crop that could be socially subsidized for people. People could just show up and get their allotment of 5 tomatoes today. TJ, I see you shaking your head.
Just
I'm with TJ.
Yeah, you guys I come from the Star Trek influence. I want Star Trek. I want it now.
the Pilgrims showed that socialism doesn't work.
I think humans are fallible. That's the only reason the system doesn't work.
Okay.
I don't even want to get into the dogma of different ways to lead. I'm just saying you build something like this and you set aside taxes for it. Like we're going to build vertical farms in communities. You set aside money for that kind of growth. You build something without the concern for how much material costs are, and you can build it to last 100 years. You put that kind of investment in it, all of a sudden you have a power plant of food available to a community. And so those in need have a place to go. You don't have to hand out welfare tickets. You can just go get your tomatoes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, what else did I bring? Nobody else is offering it.
You are just stirring the pot today, aren't you? TJ shows up and you just stir the pot. That's okay. That's good.
How about some fun stuff like a school district that has been offline for 2 weeks? And we're not talking just they can't use the internet. They shut the doors. They become so reliant on their Google services that they weren't able to conduct classes for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Their IT for the school day. I mean, this is a whole school district. This is 35 schools shut the doors. They're not even doing remote ed because they don't trust their system. They've had hackers running around in their network for they don't know how long. I imagine because it's public education and doesn't have the funds to keep track of that kind of information like a corporation would. But the teachers can't even get at their curriculum because they were encouraged as part of. I mean, I'm not gonna bitch about cloud services, but they were encouraged to put their curriculum in G Drive. And now they've been told to shut their laptops, shut the lids. Don't even try and get access to it until they've got a handle on it. And so for 2 weeks they've been chasing their tails. So they finally opened the doors again, but they're back to pen and paper on everything. And they don't have a date, a foreseeable date when this problem's going to be rectified. So if you read through this article, or it was there's a video here too. I'm not sure which I caught it from, but you've got a teacher that's complaining that it's taking her over an hour to get a hold of parents or resources because they become so accustomed to just in a minute they could get somebody's contact information, and now it's taking go to the office, go to the administrator, find it on writing somewhere. I mean, just silly stuff like that. is costing them lots of time, lots of productive time.
You're assuming that they are productive normally.
Well, I'm not the only one showing up hot. Be careful, Chester. I come from a family of public teachers.
Union teachers,
Yes, absolutely. People,
what they need to do is join the stevedores.
the stevedores?
Yeah, the stevedores.
I'm not familiar with that.
They're striking for $560 a day,
Wow.
plus no automation.
I've never even heard of the stevedores. What is it?
They're the dock workers.
Oh, okay.
They're on strike today.
That's right. I did see something like that.
Yeah, they want a 70% improvement, which they're making, I think,
I must be spelling that.
$40 an hour now. And I believe this would run them up to $120,000 a year plus overtime. And they get a lot of overtime.
Man,
So
why
these
am I
guys be
spelling
making
this wrong?
$200,000 a year.
I don't know about your term stevedores because it's not bringing anything up, but there's definitely the dock workers.
Stevedore.
Oh, stevedore.
Stevedore.
Thank you. I'm hearing it wrong. Thank you.
Fancy name for longshoremen or dock workers.
Ah, okay. An area of my education that's absent.
So between what's happened in North Carolina and Interstate 40 in West North Carolina, and now with the dock worker strike in the Northeast and in the Gulf Coast, it'll be interesting to see what happens with logistics and transportation throughout the United States.
You're probably keyed into that, aren't you? Like
Yeah, a little bit.
Like you've probably already dealing with situations.
Well, there's been some interesting changes in my life since the last time we spoke. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
I now work for a LTL company based out of Wisconsin with 13 terminals throughout the Midwest.
Still trucking transportation.
Yeah, LTL is less than truckload. So the freight that Yellow used to carry, roadway, overnight, still does. Old Dominion, those companies, partial truckloads. So 2 or 3 or 6 pallets, but not 30 pallets.
Well, I imagine you've had quite a bit of disruption in that area then.
Not yet. Not
Oh.
yet. It started today.
Okay.
And obviously I-40, collapsed over the weekend. So they're seeing disruptions there in reference to time effectiveness because freight coming out of the Southeast now has to run back down over to Atlanta and back up to Nashville that way versus running up to North Carolina and then I-40 across to Nashville. So shipment times will be delayed probably by an extra 28 to 48 hours.
Well, that's amazing to have all that going on, and that's the result of the delay. I mean, we live in a great country. It's just amazing. That's it? Really? I mean, like I've been watching the news. There are houses floating down the road. It's like the death toll is inconceivable, but my package will be only 2 days late.
Mm-hmm.
That's
For now.
Yeah. We got our priorities figured out, don't we?
Well, the biggest thing is that right now the trucking industry is over capacity. So there's more trucks than there is freight,
Well, that's
and more
interesting.
more trucking company, and we've been that way. We've been in a freight recession for the last almost 3 years now.
Well, and here I thought that we were having problems getting drivers.
No,
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 that's not true. Oh, wow.
no, no, no. That falsehood has been propagated by the American Trucking Association and by the mega carriers, because the mega carriers own the major truck driving schools. And
I would just think
so,
there'd be so much. I mean, especially after the COVID thing, I would just think there would be so much more demand for trucking.
well, there was actually, it's dropped off dramatically, because when everybody came back out of shutdown, people stopped ordering online and now went to the stores. So that eliminated a lot of the need for Amazon and so forth. So Amazon sales are down, and so forth that way. Online sales for necessities and for staples and so forth are down.
Yeah, I guess it's. Boy, I'm not ordering less. If anything, I've
And we went from,
addition to ordering more.
not only that, but we went from a consumer goods based economy to now a services based economy, where people are more traveling, they're taking vacations and so forth, where before they were buying computers and buying furniture and doing fix it up at their home and so forth, and now they're taking vacations and going out to dinner and so forth, which they weren't able to do before. So it's been a major transition, but we've been in a freight recession for the last almost 3 years now.
I had no idea. I was still living under the impression that being a truck driver was an in-demand job, and that there was plenty of freight that needed to be shipped around. I haven't changed any of my habits. If anything, I've been conditioned by COVID to buy everything online and never leave the house. But I'm a study of one.
So,
Well, that's all very interesting.
but the demand for high quality qualified drivers is still high.
Yeah, we can't replace them with drones yet.
Well, we've been trying to replace them with just meat in the seat for the last 25 years, thinking that a driver is just a driver. And companies have realized that driver turnover is really that they're being bled dry financially. Dave Ramsey talks about, people that call in and, they say, well, I have an earnings problem and a revenue problem. And he says, no, you don't. You have a spending problem. And trucking companies, unfortunately, within the industry, have been very short-sighted, thinking that they need to increase revenues, when in reality they need to decrease expenses. And that hidden expense that's never really realized is driver turnover. So the company that I work for, we've utilized the Star Behaviors Behavioral Assessment, which is my company. And in 60 days, we hired a total of 39 drivers, of which 36 of them, and obviously it's a rolling process, but 36 drivers are still with the company over the last 2 months.
So that turnover expense isn't there because they
Correct.
Yeah, you keep
Yeah.
drivers.
Yeah. So, went from, on an annualized basis, the company was looking at driver turnover about 70% of their entire fleet. Hiring about 250 drivers per year. And if the trend continues, which I know it will, in an annualized basis, within the first 6 months, we'll be at about 30% driver turnover.
What causes the turnover?
Did you hear Chester's question?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay.
Company, provided that you have a quality company So a quality company has to be, competitive pay, competitive equipment, competitive home time, competitive benefits. That's what truck drivers are looking for. They don't have to be the highest paid. They don't have to have the newest truck. They're looking for competitiveness. And so, you can't be a 1-star company and expect to keep 4 and 5-star drivers. So you have to be a 4 or 5-star company to be able to keep those high quality drivers. But the problem being is that companies had, up until now, had no way to identify drivers prior to hiring them, that they were more like Tom Brady and less like Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel can throw a football. He can run, jump, and do everything. He was Johnny Football, but you don't want him on your team. So you want more players like Brady, like they don't have to be a Tom Brady. They don't have to be a Patrick Mahomes. They don't have to be a Peyton Manning, but they have to have those qualities, core values, and behaviors that are more indicative of a top performing truck driver, and less qualities that are not indicative. And so through the use of a behavioral assessment, which takes less than 8 minutes, we're able to identify those drivers that are more likely to be successful, simply because they're like-minded in their qualities. And not only that, with them being like-minded in those qualities, there's an improvement in job satisfaction for the driver. So they're more likely to stay within the industry, or more likely to stay within a company.
It sounds like you're doing a lot of the similar work just for an organization, a new organization. Is that right?
Well, I'm their driver recruiter,
Mm-hmm.
and they're using my behavioral assessment. So they helped me out in reference to providing me with a job. I'm helping them out in providing the behavioral assessment at no charge to them. And they're my petri dish, so that the data that we're accumulating obviously becomes beneficial for my company in reference to selling it to other companies.
So what's your take on using AI for your behavioral assessment? Have you been able to plug that into some of the stuff you're doing?
That is our next version that we're working on.
Yeah.
And we will be introducing in less than, probably by the 1st of January, we'll be introducing not only behavioral assessments for the truck driver that we have now, but also behavioral assessment for dock workers / freight handlers, and also for diesel mechanics. And then shortly thereafter, we'll also be providing behavioral assessment for both logistics personnel and also customer service personnel. And Scott, and I'm sure a lot of folks realize, there are 2 different branches of AI.
Oh,
One
being that, but yes, yeah.
No, in the basics, one is data analytics, and the other one is language learning. What everyone thinks of, AI and ChatGPT is the language learning model and method,
Sure.
and then data analytics. So as we are able to get more and more drivers to complete the behavioral assessment, obviously through that data analytics and their scoring system, and then also their retention with the carrier, we're able to develop, utilizing AI and that data analytics, to even more fine-tune the assessment, and also provide additional guidance tools for the carriers.
BJ, I hope you'll keep us up to date on that. I'm very interested in it. I'm curious about what kind of model you'd be building, and how you're able to transpose that structure to different relevant career paths that you're talking about.
Sure.
From drivers to customer support, I'm interested in seeing if you can use the same style model with different data points, and what kind of success you end up having.
Yeah, actually it is. It's a very basic and very easy method. And what we've done with the truck drivers is we went and we interviewed 25 top performing truck drivers throughout the country that were provided to us by their carriers. So they realized that they were top performers, and we interviewed them and asked them what were the qualities, core values, and behaviors that made them a top performing truck driver. Who better to ask than the top performers themselves? because operations has a view of what makes a top performer a top performer. Customer service has another view. Maintenance has another view. HR has a different view. But when you go directly to the source, now you get the truth of really what has made them top performers. You know, I was listening to Tom Brady during the Buccaneers game, and they were talking about Baker Mayfield's, you know, since he came in and, you know, after Tom Brady left, that they now have a clubhouse that is, you know, fun, and they're having fun playing football, and it's less stressful. And Tom Brady's response was, you know, I thought not having championship trophies was stressful. So you could see a different mindset between Brady seeing it as a business and as a top performer, and what his responsibilities and obligations as a leader and of his fellow players was, versus Baker Mayfield, and that, you know, he's making $35 million a year and it's all just kind of a game. So yes, it will be interesting to see. And the beauty of this is because the model that we have, so we've already interviewed top mechanics, we've already interviewed top dock workers, freight handlers, and developing the behavioral assessments for both of those. So it's extremely scalable.
Cool. Yeah. No, it sounds very interesting. The I know they're trying to do some sort of resume. You hear about it all the time for trying to weed through the number of resumes that come in to HR, and they're trying to use AI models to do that.
They don't work.
Yeah.
I got told, I was told by over 200 trucking companies, sorry, you're not what we're looking for. And I've 32 years in the industry, 22 as a driver, 10 years in driver recruiting. And I was just simply applying as a driver recruiter. And I was informed by a little over 200 companies that I was not a good fit for them.
It almost sounds like you need to be writing your resume to the AI, right? Like,
No, companies need to stop relying on AI
oh, that's
and
another perspective.
start bringing people back into the equation.
I was being facetious. It's like, isn't the AI interviewing me?
Remember, it's quality over quantity. Less is more.
Well, it has been really interesting to watch over the last year how much what's the right adjective? How much weight that has been given to AI, and then to watch it all deflate, to learn that it's really being used more as a stock bumping than anything else. I mean, some of this stuff's really impressive, but it's not a path it's a path that we've been on for a long time. It's impressive because people are looking at it now, not because it's anything new. It's new to normal people, I guess. They've released it on the masses.
Well, and the thing that I've discovered, and I'm extremely active over on LinkedIn, is whether it be for my postings or whether it be for my articles, I'll use AI one of two ways: either to start to develop an outline for what I want to talk about and then fine tune it, or write an article or a posting and then have AI fine tune it for me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, but to turn around and say, okay, I need an article about XYZ, and to rely on it as being your own personal product, people can, number one, people can spot it very, very easily. And secondly, it takes out the authenticity from yourself.
Yeah, well, especially when you've got these touchstone phrases, that just come up every time, like the
Mhm.
wording nowadays, kind of like the art. Like when you have a piece of AR generated art, it's stylized, but almost all of it's stylized in a way that it's identifiable as not being a human that has made it. It is some program that has copied it from something else.
Sure. Yep.
I was listening to some people talking about an artist that I cannot remember his name of at the moment. It was one of these stuff you should know podcasts. And they were explaining this one artist. One of the reasons that so much of our AI art looks like that kind of glossy, dark, kind of photorealistic, surreal, is because this one artist, this pop artist, which I forgive me, I do not remember his name, but like an Andy Warhol on steroids, has he's got public domain art. He's licensed his art all over the place. It's all over the internet, and so of course it's gotten stuck in these image models, and they say that's the reason everything has this kind of look to it, is because it's all based on this huge collection of commercial pop art that's out there on the internet that's all of the same style. We are starting to run out of time. How many minutes we got? We got 8 minutes left. I'm going to just open up the other sheet so it's available for you guys to move over to when you're ready.
Scott, do you know if your mom and dad are coming on today?
I don't know. I'm kind of surprised they're not here now. But who knows? It might have been one of those weeks. I've had one of those weeks. I feel fortunate to be here.
They recommended a series last week called The Bay, and I have binged 4 seasons, and I must say that I am very looking forward to, in the 5th season, not having so much disgusting male behavior. I think they wrote every single male character to be the biggest rat bag, whatever, you know, and every male in this, once you, they turn out to have something, cheating, lying, something in their character. And I'm really hoping that there's a woman that is the evil person in the next one. So
I have watched this. I'm kind of bringing it up right now and taking a look at it. But they've swore by it. They've been watching it for a while now.
So they changed the character. Seasons have a female Flo, a family liaison officer assigned to these crimes in this British community. And, you know, the girl, she's a single mother, In the series 3 and 4, it's another single mom kind of girl. You know, like they kind of change the characters out, but don't change the character. And the situations, they're kind of interesting, but they have this soundtrack, this music that kind of lays in the background. It just sucks you in. You just kind of feel like, oh, what? You know, like it's got foreboding sounds, and it's quite the addictive thing. Wow. So hence my late nights since last Tuesday.
Hey, I apologize for twofold. One, I have to jump. For 2, I apologize for kind of capitalizing, in the conversation. It has been truly enjoyable, and it's great to see everybody back. And
come join us next week. We should still be here, whether it's in person or not.
Okay, look to see you then. Thanks. Right. I got to run.
All right, have a good one. And we are just a few. We got 5 more minutes in this meet. I thought I opened up the other meet. Let me make sure I do that. As we're winding down here. Yeah, it's just sitting there ready to go. Hello, Paul. And Bill. Our Pastor, Sid, you guys are welcome to join us in another meeting. And I think the only other thing I brought another article about the Internet Archive. Chester. All right, we've got almost everybody. I think we're just missing Sid at the moment. Find us gone because we're losing this old meat right in 4 minutes. I'll leave it open. He can't hear you guys, but he can hear me prattle on. A friend of mine from high school is working for the Internet Archive. He's working on the code side of it, where they submit stuff to it, how it runs. This is an article talking about how we don't have a system in place for hanging on to the history of internet pages. Anybody that does web work recognizes this right off the bat, because you can go and make a change and immediately it's online. But unless you made a copy of what you changed, that's the new version. That's the version that's forward facing. And so there's all these systems that have been put in place to perpetually make backups of pages as they change. And you guys have been to the Internet Archive. That's they consider that one of their jobs, is to go out and index everything that's out there on the internet so that you can kind of go back in time. They have a thing called the Wayback Machine, their time machine, where you can look at a web address over the period of its life in which the Internet Archive has been archiving it. The Internet Archive has done stuff as recent as making books and music and movies available that are either in the public domain or they own outright for the purpose of making them available. And they've recently had to deal with silly lawsuits where their content owners are claiming copyright infringement by making their works available in a lending manner. And it's the lending manner that they're trying to call into question. The Internet Archive has bought access to these works and provides a service very similar to how your public library does in a digital fashion. You can't use it if somebody else is using it. If they don't have a copy for you, you have to wait. But they're just recently getting into lawsuits over the ability to distribute copies that they legitimately own. It all brings the idea that we don't really have a good place, a good source, a public repository of everything that's happened on the internet. This is it. This non-profit, volunteer almost organization is we've got to keep track of all. Well, we've got that in the NSA. I always forget about the NSA. There is a warehouse in Utah that has everything, has absolutely every communication that's ever been happened, whether it's encrypted or not. Maybe we should be looking into ways to make public that utility, that data warehouse. I've joked in the past that all they have to do is offer backups. If I could go to the NSA and say, hey, can you restore my OK with it? Free backups, I think, would sell it to people. You're reading my email anyway. And the last thing that's been put on here, Bill brought us the drones. We were just looking at the beginning, but I want to bring it back up because it was very impressive. Let me bring my monitor up to share. What we're seeing here in this picture is reminding me of another drone video I watched where they were using drones as a light show in places like ancient Greece to mimic the structures that were there. So they would augment the runes of what you're looking at with drones that would lay out the structure, kind of like what you're seeing here. So you could look at a palace, or you could look at a Stonehenge, or you could look at something of that nature and have it recreated in front of you in the dark. As we're watching, was mentioning to Howard that I watched a video recently that was going through the history of QR codes. And one of the advantages of the QR code is that you have these 4 special dots in it. I wasn't talking about this before, but there's these 4 special dots that orientate where the code is. Like there's 3 corners, smaller corner, and between those 4 coordinates, you can determine how you're looking at this, whether it's straight on or whether it's at an angle, or if you're coming down from above to look at the QR code. But because of those 4 coordinates, you can scale these to large sizes or small sizes, and the interpreter of the QR code knows how much data is in a larger one versus a smaller one. They know whether it's a QR code. Well, first of all, I guess I should say there are different QR codes of different densities. So a reader has to be able to, a QR code reader has to be able to determine the density of the data of the code, and it's not based on how big the physically big the code is. It's based on those 4 coordinates as calculating how much data should be between those dots. And because they've done it in that manner, this is what I was talking about at the head of the hour, is in this demonstration they showed how a QR code could be projected in the sky with drones, just like this dragon is. And people could pull out their phones and take a picture of it and have it correctly interpreted with the right data density. Which just brings up a whole nother use of QR codes, being able to be displayed in the sky, a whole different kind of advertising going on. This is really cool, Bill. It also is a little disconcerting how many computer-controlled projectiles are in the sky.
There's an older book from the early 2000s. It's called Wired for War, and they get into using drone swarms and stuff like that. And this is one of the things they talk about. He's using it for displays and marking stuff with the swarm of drones and the command and control that can be achieved with it.
This is the plot of Spider-Man 2, right? With Mr. Mysterio. He's in.
Yeah, you use drones.
It is totally the plot of that movie. It's just going to get better. The resolution is just going to get better. Addressing a swarm of drones like it's an LCD display. It's amazing. What were you going to say, Sid? I'm sorry.
UFOs or UAPs or whatever you want to call them now. Back in the day, it was guys testing out the first jets wearing gorilla masks that freaked everybody out. And nowadays, I mean, a lot of these drones can achieve those quick turns and apparent fast moving if you're viewing it from a distance. And
sure, yeah, like no human craft would make a corner like that. The body would turn into gel with the G-forces, but a drone doesn't care. It can come to a sudden stop.
Yeah. So who's testing what? Is it aliens testing their shit in our atmosphere, or is it the government testing their drone program? You want a giant spaceship? That display is a perfect example.
I think our history books are going to mark this time in history where we had the most information and the least understanding of what's going on. everything can be falsified now with technology. So what is true anymore? Well, I have reached the end of the topics I've brought. If you folks haven't brought any topics, we normally do things like recommendations. I've already stuck the bay in. I didn't remember my parents recommending that last week, so I don't think it was on my list, but I put it on today's list. I wanted to bring up a show that Yuya and I stumbled across over the weekend and just burned through it. We didn't get off the couch. We had so much fun. Called Bodkin. And it's about podcasters going to Ireland to solve a mystery and all the antics that they get into in this town called Bodick. Cheryl, I see your face. You've seen this before?
Yeah, I think I've watched a couple of episodes, but yeah, it's different.
It was totally our kind of humor. We just we couldn't stop watching it. It's got Bill Forte in it, an American that had one successful podcast, created a podcast company, and has been teamed up with a legitimate journalist to do this investigation of things that happened 20 years before in this town.
Well, we've been watching the other podcast show, Murderers in the Building.
Murders in the Building. I haven't caught up with that.
Yeah, we're waiting for the next one to come out.
Well, I also wanted to mention a funny movie that we saw called Kneecap. I don't know if you guys... We just stumbled across it in some queue. But I thought I wrote a little... Irish language protest rap comedy. This is what I take from this. This movie is centered around the idea of Ireland trying to pass laws to make their language, the Irish language, a mandatory across their school system by law. It needs to be taught alongside English. And at the same time, there's these guys that really haven't amounted to much of anything, but they rap, and they rap in Irish language. And so these are like two different concepts coming together in this movie, and they get together with this music teacher that really pulls the whole thing together. It was we were laughing out loud, a lot of fun, but what really made it it just felt very genuine. Nothing about it felt like an artificial story. It felt, though it was a dramatized story, it definitely is a story, it's not real life. There was something about it that felt real life about it. When I started doing research to make this a recommendation in the computer club, I learned that the three are Irish language rappers. I thought they were actors. Turns out they're rappers. All of a sudden, their acting performance is amazing, but also very genuine because those are the people who they are. So the rest of this cast are obviously actors, but these three characters are Irish rappers. They rap they do hip hop in traditional Irish language, which I'm such an American, I'm sure there's a term for that I don't know. So those are
Gaelic rap.
What were you going to say, Sid? I'm sorry.
It's called Gaelic rap.
Gaelic rap?
Yeah.
Well, Gaelic I thought was Scottish, but
No. Irish is usually referred to as Gaelic.
oh, is it? Oh, it's Irish.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, it was very enjoyable. It was funny, not dumb, funny, a lot of antics. It wasn't dumb humor. It was a bit of highbrow humor in places. So I recommend it. And I have no other Oh, this is what.
I got a book to recommend.
Okay.
I just started it, but I've recommended this author's other book. His first book was Tokyo Vice. It's he was American that went to studied in school there for journalism and was on one of the largest newspapers in Japan for a few years. And he wound up covering Crime Beat.
Oh, okay.
His new book is Tokyo Noir. It just got released on Audible today.
I do not believe I've spelled noir correctly.
N-O-R-E. N-O-I.
E-O-R? I don't know, it's not giving me a bad spelling, but I'm sure I didn't spell it right.
Yeah, if I tried to look it up for you, I'd lose you guys. I've got so little internet connection.
I'm looking it up right now. Goodreads. Yeah, okay, I got the O in the wrong place. Fuminori Nakamura. Is that right, Sydney?
No. Aldenstein.
Aldens.
That's the name.
Aldenstein? How do you spell it?
Oh, hang on. Let's see if I can get the thing here.
The way I spell Aldenstein. We've already proven my eyes are not working. Is it Robert Aldenstein?
Hold on. Hang on. But just everything's slow. Jake. Oh, I had it wrong. Adelstein. Jake Adelstein.
By Jake Adelstein. Author
Yeah.
of Tokyo Vice. Alright. I think I found it. So Tokyo Vice, an American reporter on the police beat in Japan. That was the first one you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
Tokyo Noir.
The second book.
In and out of Japan's underworld.
Yep.
I found it, Sydney.
Yeah, I'm reading the second book right now, The Last Yakuza. It's been pretty good so far. It's him from his first book. And he had to tell that story. He's got to go through like several characters' history. It's actually kind of interesting.
Is he actually? You were telling us a bit about his background, but was he actually in law enforcement?
No, he wrote for one of the biggest papers in Japan. Yeah.
Okay. But he's an American.
Yeah. He went to Japan, went to college for journalism, and got this job. His first book, that's like the first 6 chapters. No, seriously, I'm American, but I speak Japanese real well, and I went to college for journalism, and I want this job. And everybody, then he got in.
I'm just adding these things to our today's recommendations and linking them in.
No, so far he's been a great author.
Well, guys, if you don't have anything else, I think we might be calling this to an end.
I heard of a book yesterday. I'm just trying to find it. I know we're talking about ordering one. It's the worst U.S. election. It's by a reporter. She was on The View yesterday and happened to see her. Let me see if I can find it.
Sydney, you're scratching the
Oh.
phone.
America's Deadliest Election.
America's deadliest election. What is going on? How come I cannot get into... Give me 1 second.
America's Deadliest Election, the cautionary tale of the most violent election in American history. And the woman that was talking about it, you know, Dana Bash is a reporter.
Yeah?
Yeah, with David Fisher. It sounds like a very interesting book about a time that a lot of us didn't know about. And she herself said she learned about it in college. But has a lot to do with the Black American citizens and their fight for rights.
I'm going to add that to our list as well.
It looks like a really interesting read.
The synopsis I just read on Google makes it sound like it's after the Civil War.
Yes, immediately after. And it has a lot to do with who thinks they won and who doesn't. So it's very interesting.
That is interesting. There are things you think about, pivotal moments in history being tailored by lack of information and communication. And now we've gone to the other side, the other spectrum, we've swung to the other extreme. We've got all this information and we've got all this communication, and we're just as confused about what's going on.
Well, and also the communication, you know, there's such a distrust. I watched the thing the other day. They'd pieced together this video to make a point that they wanted to make. So what they did, Kamala Harris speaking in numerous different locations in different times and saying, look, she's contradicting herself. And like, it's so obvious that some were taken out of context from 20 years ago, like, and they run it all together, and it looks like she said this, then she said this, then she said this, then she said this. And then they play a tape of Trump, and it is live, and it's presented as live, and it's the same kind of thing. He contradicts himself, but supposedly this is all being done in one time zone, and this is overtime, so.
Well, yeah.
It's just you see all this information, or you receive all this information, and you have to do so much screening and figuring out, what am I looking at? So.
Well, it sure feels like it's an area that's ripe for some kind of regulation, where, like, those things are put together. You should be able to note them back. Maybe we'll end up with tools in the future where we could take something like that and just shove it through a machine, and it will pop up, oh, well, this was from here, it's out of context because it was originally said like a Snopes on steroids that's just available in the future. Right?
Yeah, we call that Snoops. You call it Snopes. Okay, it makes sense. Snopes. Yeah, or the fact checkers during a debate and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. How dare they check facts? My goodness. Blame the fact checker. Busy weaving a tapestry that can be believed. Doesn't matter if it's true or not.
Okay. Well, I should probably get out of here. We're trying to get a few things settled. We're going to take a 4-day road trip just to visit a couple more people. And then when we get home from that, it's the big pack up and depart on the 17th. So.
Well, this is a good time for us to end this meeting. Let me just say that if we're doing an in-person meeting in the future, it will be by announcement. So at the moment, we're just planning on virtual meetings. But I will be taking feedback from other members throughout this week to determine whether the next meeting is in person or not. Otherwise, we'll look forward to seeing you in November. And
Yep.
on
We'll be
meeting
virtual.
next week.
Okay,
You guys have a good one. Until next Tuesday, tech on.
check on.
Tech on.
Well, guys, that was it. We did it again. That was our Tuesday meeting. I've been told by my wife she'll have some breakfast for me after we're finished. So I'm leaving this chair and I'm going to go join her. Until next Tuesday, everyone out there in internet land, you tech on and keep it easy. I don't know what I'm saying. Laters.